We are in Daggerford. You all have been called to the Sword Coast Traders Bank by the lady of the house, Syfyia Anteos. She's requested your presence, and in the process of going over a few things that have been troubling her, she's come to tell you that her daughter has gone missing, and some hunters from the Misty Forest have found her necklace and have returned it to her. The most troubling aspect of this is that she expected her daughter to be in Waterdeep by now, returning to her father for the rest of this time, and apparently it would seem that her daughter never made it. Belinda shares with you all that she has contacted her husband and hopes to hear from him soon, but with the hunters coming forward with this ruby amulet, she doesn't want to spare any expense and is offering you all a mission to go investigate the Misty Forest and hopefully find out what you might find about her missing daughter, Syfyia Anteos. Would you all like to describe yourselves to each other? What does Flea look like? Hello? Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, maybe Al's away. How about Kavi? What do you look like, Kavi?
Javi is 5'7". Her skin is a blue that, like, if you punch someone and it freezes, that's the type. With dark purple, almost black hair, and her eyes are piercing snow white.
Do you carry anything on your person that is kind of sticks out beyond your skin and your height?
On her hip, she has a rapier, as well as she carries a lyre, or a lyre.
Excellent. Sarkis, what do you look like?
Sarkis is a short little humanoid. He carries with him very little, just a small pack and some rather humble looking like leather clothing. And then he has basically just a walking stick. And as far as like traits, he's like a little bit older, kind of has a bushy mustache, a little bit of like gray showing through, but overall just looks like a humble little humanoid.
And Xavier?
Xavier's standing at 6'1", 205 pounds. He looks human by all accounts. He's wearing darkened chainmail armor that is probably from his time as a soldier. Uh, he has white hair, but he looks young still, even though his hair is white.
And are you still away, Flea? Can you hear? So perhaps we've lost Al. I'm going to ping him real quick.
I can still see his picture in like the actual Fright Night game, so he must be at his computer and maybe we just can't hear him.
I feel like I saw that you had push to talk set up, Al, but I haven't seen signs. Oh, I do feel like at one point I noticed that you had Roll20 set up for voice. All of the voice is going to be done over Discord. So maybe that's where the problem is? Is Roll20 still trying to, like, take your microphone? So, while we wait to see if Al can fix the voice issue at present, Belinda will look you all over. So, my son tells me that you all fancy yourselves adventurers. I don't quite have the soldiers to send after my daughter at present, but if you would be willing to head off towards the Misty Forest, perhaps you could check in on her and find information for my family.
Of course, we can Get back before sundown. Make quick haste.
And what is your name, noble knight?
You can call me Xavier.
Excellent, Xavier. Well, she's...
You hear me now?
Yep, we've got you now, Flame. Can you describe yourself as you stand before Belinda?
Yes, about 5 foot tall, human. But in essence, the gray man. When I want to be noticed, I'll be noticed. And when I don't want to be noticed, I look like absolutely nothing special, just blending in.
Excellent. Love the gray man reference. So Belinda will look over you all as she stands from... She's got a pretty modest throne-like chair that she's sitting on. She's definitely not the actual like Baroness of Daggerford, but she certainly is quite wealthy, and she doesn't hide it on the seat that she sits on over those who would be welcomed into her home. But as she steps down, she will walk towards you, and approaching Xavier, she will hand out a small piece of canvas in which there has been a painting of her daughter, and she will present it to you. She's a bit older now, but this is the last time that we've had anyone capture her likeness. If you would be so kind as to return my daughter to me.
I will do all within my power to do so.
And that should pop up so you all can see it. I believe you click to zoom in, that will show you a zoom, but you can also open it up to actually see that there is writing on the back of it. And it is essentially a message from her mother to her daughter. And it is essentially a going away message, a bit of a inspirational bit for her daughter before she headed off for school some years ago.
Belinda, if I may, have you any idea what might have happened to her? Reason to believe that harm might have come to her?
She left here some days ago. The two of us have begun to butt heads more often than not of late. And I expected she was heading off with her brother to join her father in Waterdeep. Perhaps a little bit angry at me. He had left shortly before, and I told her she should stay here in Daggerford. If she never met with him, she would have been off alone. She's strong-willed, and with what these hunters have been able to share with me, I think she may have gone off on her own, if not been taken off. It's hard to tell whether that means she's in danger or not.
Belinda, you say that you have been arguing with your daughter of late. Does she have any new acquaintances or associates or anything you think might be behind this change in her?
No, this is what teens do. I don't see any reason to assume this or that. If she's met anyone new, it would be hard to really know. Daggerford is large enough as is, but time spent in Waterdeep, there's no count of how many people would be there.
Question for the DM: do we know if her mother and father are estranged, or why are they so far apart?
You can ask.
Belinda, is there a reason why you do not live in the city with your husband?
Oh, we are in the process of expanding the Traders Bank. My husband's family is not those in charge, and he's responsible for some things, but my brother certainly would not trust him with something so important as opening our new Daggerford location. Some things just can't be trusted to an in-law.
Ah,
Most people didn't have terribly large backstories to their characters. Does anybody in particular fancy themselves as being from Waterdeep?
Xavier probably would be.
as is plea.
Let me have the two of you roll intelligence or history checks.
How do I do that?
If you pop over to your D&D Beyond profile, the intelligence will just be up towards the top. I believe it's going to be...
So I rolled. I don't know if it will show up on the campaign. Oh, it looks like it.
Yeah, if it's not currently showing up on the virtual tabletop, you just have to click the red button from Beyond 20, and that syncs it to the actual tabletop so it comes over. I saw Xavier's pop up in D&D Beyond, but not Roll20 right now. So, Flea, if you do just the intelligence, you should just hover over your intelligence stat, and that'll give you the red button to roll. If you have history proficiency, you would basically do the same thing, but for history. Just hover over it, and it should give you the red die, and then you can click on the die to roll.
It's not giving me it.
You need to enable dice rolling in the settings of your character page.
Yeah, but you guys, anybody who hasn't played with me in the past, you should also have Beyond 20 linked up, and that will send a roll from D&D Beyond to Roll20. Beyond 20 is a app that you install into your browser. If you don't have that right now, I have links to it for either Chrome or for Firefox in the community channels under resource links. That ends up being one of those clutch things that it links everything to the actual campaign.
Did my roll go across or no? Okay, I will work on installing the extension right now. I did a roll.
Yeah, I can look up the game log on D&D Beyond. I just don't normally have it open. So let's see. I got a 14 from Flea and a 20, or a 20 from Flea and a 14 from Xavier. Yeah, so I think the two of you would be relatively aware that the Anteos family is a noble family of Waterdeep. Flea, you would be relatively familiar with the fact, for multiple reasons, that the Anteos family has often been linked to slavery in the past, and they've done quite a bit to do a publicity bit of work to hide some of the history of where their family got most of its money. And in the process of this most recent publicity work, they've done a lot to actually move into a more traditional funding source of the Sword Coast Traders Bank. a wonderful option for people who are traveling between the great cities so they can deposit money in one location and safely can't think of the word, safely withdraw the money once they arrive upon the location that they desire to travel to. And though most people don't quite understand how they do it, they've had quite a success rate in this new business. And you have that extra little insight to recognize that it's a really good way to clean money.
That's what I was about to ask.
So if
Belinda, could you tell me, do you have any business rivals or enemies or adversaries that could possibly be behind this?
are you familiar with Waterdeep?
Yes, milady?
Well, clearly you're not from the highest breeding, so it's okay if you're ignorant of such things. But there's always a playful rivalry for those on top of the game.
So true.
But to imagine someone would take my daughter, the repercussions would be great. And most nobles are wise enough to avoid such things. The game's played with subtlety, played with skill. And while it's played to win, that's a lowly way of playing that no noble would reduce themselves to.
DM, am I getting any intuition from this?
What are you thinking of?
Is there subterfuge going on? Directly related to her daughter?
Roll an insight check for me, and then also, like, describe what you mean more than just subterfuge. Like, what in particular are you looking for here?
I'm wondering if they, may know or have suspicions of who could have taken.
Oh yeah, you can roll an insight check. Seems pretty straightforward. She doesn't seem to be hiding anything.
And if I rolled a 20. Does anybody else want to try for some insight or whatnot?
So Xavier's a little familiar with nobility in Waterdeep, but I don't know if he's necessarily the most intelligent enough to think she'd be lying here in any way.
I've got nothing else.
Well, if you have no further questions, if there's nothing else that you need from me, I will be retiring, and I expect to hear from you as soon as possible. Trust you all know the way to the Misty Forest?
Yes, milady.
Do we know the way to the Misty Forest? Is it common knowledge in this area?
In general, there's no real reason for people to not have a general map set up, it certainly wouldn't be as broad as the map that I am currently sharing as the home screen for the campaign, but there's no reason that you wouldn't understand that the Misty Forest is essentially to the southeast of Daggerford.
We'll go as quick as we can, though. We'll make sure to have Syfyia back in your hands as soon as possible.
So she kind of walks away with her back turned to you, and just her right hand raised to the air. She just kind of waves it twice and sits back down on her large wooden chair and just kind of like slouches over, just giving the slightest bit of a hint that she is simply exhausted with worry at present.
Xavier will kind of do a half bow and start making for. I assume we probably have horses to get to the Misty Forest in time? Or are we going on foot?
Do any of you have horses?
Lee does not.
Probably not, since I'm level 1 and I don't have money for a horse.
Sounds like on foot it is.
Let's make haste so we're not out too late. I don't like being in the past sundown.
Is everyone all set to leave Daggerford? Is there anything that you intend to pick up before you leave this place?
Provisions and such are already in place for me.
Yeah, I don't believe I need anything.
So as you all head out of Daggerford, my bad, had a cough. As you head out of Daggerford, the main gate is on the west of the town itself. There's a short road along a portion of the tradeway before it crosses the river to the south of Daggerford. Crossing over the bridge, you're then presented with the tradeway that heads nearly straight south at that point. There is a small route of downs between yourselves and the most direct route to the Misty Forest, or you can head further south before you kind of start to come along to the Misty Forest directly on your east. It's always on the east, because the east is not related to your facing.
So Xavier's not the best Pathfinder, but he is going to ask the party as we kind of leave Daggerford. Did her demeanor seem off for the crisis she should be going through? I just think that someone in her position would be in hysterics.
I agree, something did not feel quite right with her.
Well, keep your guard up. What suggestions do you guys have for getting there?
I mean, it sounds like we need to walk if nobody's got a horse.
Oh, of course, just in terms of pathing. We can follow the route, or we can go a more direct route, but no roads.
I'm all for staying away from the roads on this one.
I'm fine with that.
However, if we stay on the roads, we might be able to cross paths with merchants and traders. We could probably have to ride through them.
If they're so kind. I would love that prospect.
Arcus, thoughts? Or is it just the three of you all weighing in? What's the final decision?
I'm open to whatever you choose. Makes no difference to me, one way or the other. We travel faster on the roads, but less likely to encounter.
Hey, I'll be right back. I gotta let my dogs out. They won't leave me alone.
Lee is more than okay with either way. if we do take the roads, he will be kind of shifting into Gray Man.
I say the roads are probably going to be the most efficient, at least for myself, being in heavy armor. I don't like trekking through terrain that I don't need to.
So is anybody intently going to approach different people, hoping to beg of a ride or some sort of expeditious vehicle?
Xavier probably wouldn't.
Do we have a rough idea how far away, like how long of a trek this is to the woods?
I mean, if you're just looking at your map, you're likely to recognize that it's probably a pretty solid day's travel. You're likely to sort of, at best, arrive around the evening, depending on how fast you're able to make your way. So, assuming that it is likely the one who is missing, who would be intent on approaching different people along the way, we will go forward with you all are walking along the road, discussing with different people. We will see about the time frame with it. I guess I could roll for her.
I'm back.
So I'm going to go ahead and assume that Kavi is likely the one who would be approaching different people along the road. So do you want to describe to me how you would beg a ride of any merchants that you see heading to the south along the trade road?
Didn't really think about that. It's not really in her personality. She's a shy type.
Gotcha.
But if anything, she'd probably be like singing or like doing more like poetry as like walking.
I am absolutely intrigued to see how you play Kavi. I'm excited to see a bard who your initial description is she's a shy type.
Think of more like her poetry falls in macabre, so she's kind of like Poe.
Yeah, so you all can travel along the tradeway. You make pretty good time along the road itself, and you'll start to approach the actual woods nearing sundown. What sort of thoughts do you all have?
As if it's sundown, Xavier would probably recommend we just make camp rather than trying to do anything extra dangerous, I guess is the best way to put it. No need to put ourselves in unnecessary harm.
Lee agrees.
Yes, I agree as well. As night falls, I think it's wise for us to rest here, set up a camp, and perhaps a fire, get to know each other a little better.
Sounds great to me. Let's start setting this up.
Would you all like to leave the road? Do you want to stay near the road?
Do we see any cover within a reasonable distance?
Roll a perception. What kind of cover are you looking for?
It could be trees, it could be an outcropping of rock, just, something.
Not in the middle of a field.
All right, well, you all are approaching the Misty Forest, so you definitely see those trees. Still don't have a roll inside of roll 20, but if you rolled, I can load back the D&D Beyond die sheet.
If we want to, we can enter the outskirts of the forest and see if we can get somewhere that's not too deep in, but not so we're immediately on the road.
Yeah, with a 10, that's almost exactly what I'll give you, is basically saying that you all are in this area, you've cleared the downs, so you could like head backwards and start to get into like a hilly open area, or you can actually start to move into the forest itself, which is just to the east of you, which would be on the left side of the road. And then getting to the point where another forest is actually starting to approach from the west, from your right. Assuming that you all are
Sounds
making
like the
camp, in the misty forest.
Yeah.
Yep.
You all can sit down, start to unload your things, start to prepare a fire for yourselves. People start to pull out rations, prepare little bits of food for yourselves. And you start to look over this evening as the sun fully starts to set and darkness starts to overtake everything. It's a pretty open, large moon across the night sky as it begins to rise. Seems like an absolutely beautiful, clear evening ahead. There doesn't seem to be any cloud cover coming over from the sea. It seems to be coming right over the coast and bringing clear weather for you all.
Interesting that they call this place the Misty Forest, and it's a beautiful night.
Everybody just going to turn in and go to sleep?
Xavier would probably be inclined to find out the motives of the rest of the people he's doing this job with.
I would more than likely be writing in her journal.
Flea is going to scout a bit of the terrain, not too far, but just to get a little bit of an idea of what's in close proximity.
I think Sarkis would probably just sort of hang out and chat it up with everybody a little bit. You might notice that at one point in time or another, that maybe he's like messing around with his hair, like putting a new braid in it, or perhaps like pulling off his bracers and doing some like gentle like leather work.
So I've got a journaler, hanging out with people but not necessarily bringing up a topic of conversation, and then a hanging out with people and braiding your hair. What are you three sharing with each other?
Xavier would probably ask anyone who stayed at the camp, basically why they decided to take up this job in particular.
Flea's going to return to the group.
Well, hold on, Flea. If you're walking away, I'm going to come back to you. I'm curious if the other three are doing anything before we focus on you for a moment.
So, Sarkis, what's a halfling like yourself taking this job for?
Just needed a little adventure, looking to get away a little bit. What about yourself?
Be quite honest, I needed coin. I'm not in the military any longer, and coin doesn't make itself.
Interesting motivation. I find little use for coin, but to each his own.
Life can get quite expensive out in Waterdeep.
I've only heard of big towns and cities like that. I've traveled through at times, but truth is, most of my expenses are taken care of.
It's quite nice.
Yes, it's common belief amongst my people that physical possessions can be a hindrance on motivation that would be otherwise pure.
That does really sound nice. Where do your people hail from?
Far from here in a distant land, I grew up mostly in a monastery surrounded by family, and those that were not of blood are family nonetheless. And what about yourself?
The religious type? I grew up over here in Waterdeep, but I myself am also the religious type.
Ah, excellent. I'm not sure if you would call it a religion or spirituality or even the difference between the two, but I could say that my people serve a greater purpose, and being one of them, I do as well.
Let's
Yes,
pop to Flea for a moment here. Flea, let me have you roll a survival check as you walk into the forest.
Were you talking to me? It was cutting out.
Yep. Can I have you roll a survival check as you walk into the forest? And are you going with any sort of light? Are you going without light at present?
Without light at present.
So then, survival at disadvantage.
17.
Did you roll that at disadvantage? Just shows me the one roll with how I can look at the game log on D&D Beyond.
How do I roll it at disadvantage?
Just roll another survival for now. So as you start to head into the forest, moving away, most of the others don't even recognize it at first as you just kind of slip off into the darkness. Doing your thing, it was a moment where you were setting up along everybody else, and as everybody seems to look up, it's almost as if they had always been a party of three, and you start to just approach a little bit deeper into the forest, seeing what you might be able to see. It doesn't take you long until you feel a little bit turned around and things just seem a little bit off. Roll a insight for me. There's an
18.
eerie silence about this forest. You can actually approach and you're moving and you can like hear this like momentary change.
As soon as Lee would have felt that kind of not quite right, he would have kind of, you know, taken it easy a little bit and to look around and such, not as much rushing into it.
So with that 4, once you start to feel eerie and you start to head backwards, you're going to start to feel really turned around. And this is part of the feeling that this forest is giving you. It is getting silent as you approach, and you're noticing that, but as well, when you start to look to make your way back, that's also seems to be moving. Are the trees changing? I swear I came from that way, but there's a tree. There's no longer, I thought I walked on a path. And as you turn around and you start to make what you think is the way back, it's not long till you start to see the fire of your friends. And it was in the direction you felt, but from what you can tell, the trees have moved in that time.
When I get back to the group, I'm going to kind of relay what I've experienced.
Yeah, so like in general, if I'm describing something for everybody still in chat, it will almost always be assumed that you are sharing those things. It is going to be up to you all as players when I share certain things. If you don't want to share everything that I say, it will basically be up to you to delineate. I'm going to tell them these specific parts. For certain things, I might pull people to another chat, but in general, that's one of the things where, just like with this, there's a lot to like dropping the verisimilitude by pulling somebody to another chat to whisper with them. So it's usually more that I'll just ask everybody not to use the meta knowledge, and I'll leave it up to the players to say, yeah, I'm not going to share the secret. So, Sarkis, Xavier, the two of you are conversing. Kavi is writing in her journal, and all of a sudden Flea pops out of the forest and he shares this with you.
What do you mean the trees were?
It wasn't as much. It was a feeling. It was like getting turned around, confused almost, you could say.
Well, I'm glad you made it back here in one piece. You shouldn't stray too far from the fire from now on.
Are you all going to spend any longer meeting each other and role-playing any of that? If you don't intend to, we're going to fast forward.
I think Sarkis would probably just like continue like some casual conversation, but he's not like particularly like overly investigating anyone at this point in time. Just sort of casually getting to know them.
Everybody intending on going to bed? What are your thoughts into the evening? Everyone's going to sleep? You can go to sleep.
Yeah, that probably makes the most sense.
Perhaps we should take turns sort of keeping an eye open through the night, just for safety.
I agree. Do any of you have ease of seeing through the dark and in the night?
I do.
I think Flea, you should probably take first watch since I think you may have the most difficulty with that. I can take second watch.
Works for me.
Sarkis, Kavi, which one of you wants third and fourth?
No preference here. I can go third or I can go last. It's never a problem for me to get to sleep.
I could take third.
Alright, and Sarkis, you'll take the last watch then.
I also need to let the dogs in. Hold on.
You're good. Flea, what are you doing while you're on watch? What are your thoughts?
Lee is pretty much keeping an eye around primarily towards the forest, a lesser extent towards the road, and just generally, checking the gear, taking stock of things.
More or less you're just sitting by the fire and you're like back to the road watching the forest? Are you like walking around?
I'm a little bit away from the fire, maybe 15, 20 feet, not far. Just so I'm kind of, if somebody was to look at the fire and everything, they may well see me, but they may well not also.
Are you watching with a torch?
No.
All right, let me have you roll a perception at disadvantage.
How do I do that?
Same thing, just roll 2 perception.
You can also hit shift for advantage or control for disadvantage. No, roll both.
Thank you for that. So 7 and a 20.
All right. Your first watch, you said you were kind of looking over some of the equipment of the party, essentially?
Well, no, I'm sorry, my equipment.
All right. So your first watch is more or less encompassed by you kind of going over your equipment, doing like your own little checks across things, standing just at the edge of the fire, more or less out of view from anybody who might come by. And let me have you do another perception at disadvantage.
A 20 and a 10.
Seems to be a pretty clear even. You pay a little bit more attention to the surroundings, but there doesn't really seem to be too much going on. You do notice little bits of kind of bright clouds across the moon as it's rising. It's almost quite magnificent to see these white clouds that seem to be scattering the light from a full moon. And then you will be waking up Xavier. How do you intend to go on watch, Xavier?
Xavier would probably spend his watch alternating between kind of standing near the fire, trying to stay warm, and patrolling the outskirts of the camp area.
Are you walking around with the torch?
No, I have dark vision.
You understand that that means you can see in black, white, and gray, correct?
Yes.
So let me have you roll perception at disadvantage. I'm just gonna stress it now. Not using a torch is always a bad thing. Like, light is something that you all still need, regardless of people choosing races that have dark vision. Dark vision just means you're not completely blind in the dark.
Okay.
So yeah, you spend a little bit more time next to the fire. Everything seems pretty clear. There seems to be some sort of increased, like, you'll start to notice the clouds seem to be a little bit still sporadic, but they do kind of shine through. It's almost as if there's a race of these white sheep just going across the sky beneath this full moon. And more of your time is spent closer to the fire, but there doesn't really seem to be anything happening. And another perception at disadvantage, please.
Oh, those are bad
Yeah.
rolls.
And that one will pass by about the same. You're just kind of hanging out by the fire. Everything seems pretty calm, and for what it's worth, you just kind of lay back and stare up at the sky as these clouds are just racing by above. And then shortly later, you walk over to Kavi, kind of push her back awake. And Kavi, how do you intend to go about your watch?
She doesn't wander too far, but she mostly just like continues just like scan around the area. But mostly she stays within the light of the fire.
Are you watching with a torch or no torch?
Yes, because she's still writing.
All right, gotcha. So do a perception for me. I love you, Key. So this is where shit's going to hit the fan. Shortly after Xavier wakes you, you light a torch, you get all of your things out, and you start to sit back and just continue on with the same thoughts that you were bouncing around in your head when you arrived in camp. And you hear the first howl of a dog? Is that I didn't see any farms quite in this area, but that must have been a dog. And then you hear the howl responded from a different direction. This one's from the east. And this kind of continues on for about 15 or 20 minutes of the initial part of your watch. What do you have as a thought?
Um, that they're not dogs, but they're probably closer to wolves in the closer vicinity that she's probably comfortable with.
Are you still going to sit by and journal? Keeping a closer watch? What are you thinking?
She's more alert, but she's staying where she is and just listening for the house to get closer.
So roll another perception at advantage for me.
Advantage?
Yes, please. Within a few minutes, you're hearing many of these howls, predominantly to the east. There's a few to the north, and you're starting to pay attention to where they're coming from, and you're hearing them kind of like bounce from these different spots, and you're almost like starting to draw little dots in your journal, like keeping track of like this one was almost directly east of me. This one was like east, but maybe a little bit north of me. And like you're keeping track of this pattern of the howls as they're like kind of transferring like from animal to animal. And you're starting to get maybe there's like 4 or 5 canines off in the woods here. And as you're kind of going about this about a half hour into these howls, you notice 2 yellow eyes just kind of pop up just outside of the firelight, a little bit closer to your torchlight. So like you're almost making like a colon if you were to look at it from above. Like you're close to the fire itself, but your torch is a little closer to you. And it's kind of like right between those two things, but slightly closer to you, you see these 2 eyes.
Can she take like a warning shot at it with her crossbow, see if it'll like leave?
Make a crossbow shot at just a normal shot. As you shoot into the darkness where you see these eyes, you hear a little yipe as apparently, I think I hit it. The eyes disappear, and for a few minutes, it gets a little bit quieter. The howls get a little bit more sporadic. They seem a little bit more distant. Anything changing in how you're thinking about this, Kavi?
She starts waking the others up as like a just in case precaution.
Who are you going to wake first?
She'll wake up Sarkis first because he's next on watch.
All right, you're still early in your watch, though. It's still too early for him to go on to watch. But
Okay.
yeah, you're
who
still
was
like
before-
a half hour, 45 minutes into your 2 hours.
Okay. Who was before me? Magnus or was it Xavier?
What was it? Xavier was right before you.
All right, then she'll wake up Xavier because that much time has passed.
Xavier, roll an intelligence check for me.
Advantage or just straight?
Just
Sorry, I
straight.
mean not
Just straight.
advantage. All right, awesome.
She kind of starts to push you, and you just give like a kind of classic, like just a little bit longer, and you just roll over, and he seems to go back to sleep. What are you thinking, Kavi? The classic teenager being woken up for school. Like, just 5 more minutes, 5 more.
I rolled
So-
too many ones and I'm trying to get up.
This is when it can get funny because she has a whistle stick that she'll start using in this ear.
So you're just gonna start like ripping into a whistle?
Yeah.
I need everybody to roll intelligence checks with advantage. And specifically checks, not saves, in case anybody actually has saving proficiency. All right, so Sarkis and Xavier kind of pop up real quick. Pretty alert for the moment. Flea doesn't seem to move in the least bit.
I thought you were the
Xavier,
quiet one.
What are you saying to her? Because she's, well, especially Xavier, she's like in your ear with a whistle right now.
I thought you were the quiet one.
Should have answered me.
Oh, what's happening?
Wolf pack.
Oh, well, you should have hit me to get me up sooner. Xavier's gonna start kind of like standing up. Are they near? Are they threatening?
One got close and I shot it, but I don't know if like more will be coming or it just ran off.
Sarkis would chime in. Wolves, you say? Be alert. Perhaps we should wake the other, and I will light a torch.
I'll put on my armor, I guess.
As I kind of like cup my hand to my ear, can I hear any activity from the wolves or suspected wolves?
Listening for them, roll a perception at advantage. Yeah, from what you can tell, there seems to be do a nature check as well for me. You notice that there seems to be a pack of canines. There's a little bit of a hint of like a deep growl to their howl that seems to belie what would be a wolf. Perhaps a little bit larger than your average dog that would be tamed by somebody. It's certainly hard to go off of just by their howls. And then you all aren't necessarily far from like habited areas, but there seems to be a few of them. At present, you're able to... I'm rolling incredibly low for this. It seems to be kind of 2 different groups, one to the northeast and one to the southeast, and they seem to be approaching from the forest.
You can hear quite a few of them. 2 large groups, one in the north and one in the south. They have us surrounded. Be on the lookout.
So Xavier's going to take some time putting on his armor. Anybody putting a little bit more effort into waking Flea?
I can go give him a shake. So I guess Sarkis will walk over to him and say, "Prepare yourself. We may be under attack." And I'll poke him a couple times with my staff.
So Sarkis, roll 2 perception checks for me. Or rather, a perception at advantage. not Sarkis, Flea. So while that's kind of happening, you all hear there seems to be howls pretty close to the camp at this point. Seems just off from where you guys are at present. And Flea starts to rouse, and Sarkis, I'm sure, starts to share with him. Any other thoughts as you all have a pretty good idea that you are about to meet with some wolves out of the misty forest?
Once Xavier is fully suited up and has his shield on, he's going to light a torch to see if he can see any of these wolves.
You're starting to get a sneaking suspicion that you are not going to be able to wear your armor by the time they get to your camp.
Okay. Then I'll just put on my shield.
And Sarkis will stoke the fire and make sure that it's burning bright and strong, as much good as it would do.
Flea's going to pull out his bow.
Tavi, thoughts for yourself?
She's keeping an eye. She's going to keep an eye towards the northeast.
All right, so let me have... Give me one moment here. Guess I'll put you all on a map for what it's worth. As things begin to approach, their howls start to quiet down. As you start to hear these things are much closer to you, and they're beginning to a little bit more intelligently communicate between each other. Not in loud howls, but much quieter and much more controlled growls, as if they are very particularly speaking to one another. If I can have... let me drop you on the map and drag you all over. Please, Xavier, Sarkis, and Key. Let me have you all just kind of place yourselves. We'll pretend that that wagon there is your fire, and you can kind of place yourselves in relation to one another. Oh wait, I dropped you on the map layer, my bad.
There you go.
I can't actually click my token.
You were on the map layer. You should have it now. This was a random encounter. I rolled a 20 while you guys were sleeping. That's why I thought it was amazing that Key also rolled a 20 on it. So place yourselves in relation around the wagon. There is essentially your bonfire. You hear the creatures seem to be coming from the east. And then let me have you all select your token and roll for initiative.
When we put our stats on our token, what order do you want them in? Do you want it like perception, hit points, and then armor?
Overall, it won't be as important at present, just as a first session. This is just kind of the start of things. But in the order of how you fill them out in that left cog, once you select your token, you'll see a cog on the left. If you select that cog, the top one is green. It is your health, and I want both of those filled in. So it shows like Flea would be 9 of 9, and that way it shows it as an actual life bar for me. And that ends up being the center, the green one, when you just like select your icon from outside of that editing. The second one is your AC, that will be blue, and it's the middle one when you can edit it, and then it is on the right when you are just selecting your token, and then the bottom one is your passive perception that is red, and it is the leftmost one when you are just selecting your token. You don't actually have to fill in both for your AC and your passive perception, though. You don't really need bars for those.
Affirmative. Thank you.
Flea, did you roll initiative?
Yes, I did. $11. And a 9 just rolled.
Okay, I see. You're adding in the plus on that die roll already. So you all see as 3 wolves seem to approach out of the darkness, and their eyes seem to illuminate first. Sarkis, what are you doing as you see the wolf eyes?
So Sarkis will immediately run up in front of everyone, and you will hear him with his torch in one hand and his walking stick in the other. He'll begin to spin it and yell out, "There are no sheep amongst us. Leave this place. You will find no easy meals here." Like square wise, how far can I move? Can I basically just get like in front of everybody about there? 25 feet?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay,
The
and
actual
then-
squares, again, I just threw that map out there. The actual squares are a part of this map more than the tiny squares that are probably a little bit more visible on this map.
That might be just a little too. I'll go like right about there then, 25 feet if that's good. And then I will take the dodge action. And I'll just sort of be like spinning my stick in one hand and sort of like waving the fire, just trying to like scare them off or intimidate them. And that'll end my turn.
So that wolf is going to run up, and as it leaps at you to try to bite at you, it's going to have I believe that's a 19 to hit.
And just to double check, I am taking the dodge action.
Oh yeah, my bad. And that's a 7 to hit. So it's gonna kind of bite out at you, and it's right where your feet were just kind of planted, and it almost like ducks right into between your legs as it kind of gets tied up in your footwork. Let's see, and then Key, what are you doing here? Or my bad, Kavi.
So is the northernmost wolf like hidden by the tree or bush, or is it like out in the open?
Everything is pretty much in light cover here. There's just trees all around you. This map is more just so it's not just a white piece of paper.
All right. So she's going to use her crossbow again on it.
Alrighty, taking another shot. Pull back. 23 is gonna hit. It kind of yipes in pain, and it seems to kind of pull back a little bit. The next wolf is going to run up to Sarkis, and it is going to bite out at him. And they seem to work in tandem as the one bites at you, and it seems to like fall between your legs. This other one uses that opportunity to go where you're moving to avoid its friend, and it's going to bite down on your leg with a 22 to hit. And it's going to do 4 damage.
Affirmative.
And Flea, what would you like to do?
With a short bow, I am going to go for the southernmost wolf.
Excellent. Is that 18? No, that's an initiative. 15 will hit.
D6 for damage, right?
That sounds right on a short bow. Let me check real quick on your character. Yep, D6 plus 3 right now.
Yeah, guess that's 4 points. What I do, just nick it?
4. You use Sarkis's assistance of his leg as an opportunity to put an arrow into it. Yipes a little bit, but it seems a little bit more intent in biting into him. And the last wolf. It's going to run up on Sarkis as well, biting in with an 18 to hit. And it's going to do... Alright, I believe that will drop you with 10 damage.
Oh yeah. Just to double check, I'm assuming that they have like the equivalents of like pack tactics, and my dodge is not affected.
Exactly, yep. Once there's 2 of them on you, it's pack tactics, so it's going to a straight roll. The dodge is getting mitigated by that. And it's going to go to Xavier. You currently see each one of these wolves has an arrow. I think everybody's shooting an arrow in it at this point.
Which one did which one did Key shoot?
The most recent shot is the one that just latched on to, yep, Sarkis from the north.
Okay. Let's. All right, I'm gonna move up right here, to try to make it so they can't surround me at least immediately, and I'm going to attack with my longsword. Oh, why did it not roll a d20? There we go.
14 will hit, dealing 5 damage to that wolf. It kind of yipes out, releasing Sarkis at that point, but it still seems to be holding on, though it seems quite bloodied by that gash across its back.
All right, and that'll be my turn.
Sarkis, let me have you roll. Why did I do that? Let me have you roll a d20 for a death save. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me roll that. All right, so the wolf tied up in the legs of Sarkis is going to pop out, and it is going to... it's gonna run after... looks like Kavi. Biting out at her. With a 20, it is going to do 2, 4, 6, 8 damage to you, Kavi. And if you are still standing, it will be your turn. Although I think 8 will drop you. Let's see. Let me roll a death save for you there. And then it's going to be on the next wolf. It's going to turn to bite at, what is that, Xavier? 19 is a 23. It's going to do 4, 6 damage to you, Xavier. And flee. Are you there, Al?
Yeah, I'm going to go longbow again on the southernmost wolf.
Alrighty.
With +3, that'll be 8.
It seems to just kind of get tied up into the natty hair that this thing has across its hide, and just seems to kind of plink right off of the wolf.
Oh, I rolled a d6 by accident. My apologies. Not much better.
I think that's enough that it would be a hit. So same kind of idea. It seems to get caught up in this creature's hide.
Speed-wise, am I able to get 2 off in a single turn?
Nope. You are going to need a lot of work to be able to get 2 as a rogue. But no, at present, everybody should essentially have a single attack action. The one to the north of Sarkis is going to run down and attack into Xavier. It's going to hit with a 19 and do 5, 7 damage.
Damn. I was hoping it was 5 so I could stay up. I am down.
Alrighty, gonna do a death save for Xavier there.
Who's still standing at this point?
You.
You.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So you see as like Sarkis kind of coughs up blood. His breathing seems to be a little bit troubled at that point. Let's see, and then that wolf's going to move down and bite out at Flea. 19 to hit. It's going to do 4 damage to you, Flea.
Okay, at this point, can I, with enough time, grab a burning piece of wood from the fire and grab my rapier?
You can certainly do it next turn.
Then I can get an arrow off still?
No. It's going to end up being kind of one or the other type of thing. Like drawing your arrow to shoot from your bow is essentially the free action while your action is shooting the bow. Grabbing something from the fire to try to defend yourself with the fire is more or less your action, and drawing your rapier would be like the free action.
Okay, I'm gonna use the bow then.
It's not your turn yet, though. Just give it a moment. Next wolf is rushing up to you. It's going to hit with a 23 And it's going to bite down for 5-7 damage. Is Flea still standing?
I'm down.
So, Flea, the last moment of your vision is clouded with visions of these wolves as they overwhelm you and bite down on your flesh, as well as what appears to be a wolf walking on 2 legs. And then darkness. Alrighty. So, everyone is going to come to conscious. Let me have you all roll a d4. Alright, Kavi, you're going to come to consciousness first. As you kind of open your eyes and look around and start to take in your surroundings. It seems cold, chilly. Your first sights are... There's just gray all around you. You can hardly see even feet from you. After a moment, you're questioning if you can even see right now, if you're blinded by whatever happened to you, and you hold up your hand and almost a foot in front of your face, it seems extremely clouded by this mist that seems to be surrounding your flesh. And you take a moment to gather yourself. You smell the familiar scent of iron, the blood just having dried all over your body. You start to gain sensations as your body just stings from these different points where you seem to have been bitten. And you look around, and your 3 companions are there with you. All of them are unconscious, and they seem to have dark gray and black splotches all over them. Doing anything at first, Kavi?
She's not gonna stand up immediately, but she's gonna try and figure out who's the most injured between them.
It seems like Xavier might have gotten the worst of the wear, but everybody overall seems to be labored in their breathing, but they seem to be stable at present. And it's about an hour into things before anybody else starts to wake up. You're just kind of alone in this entrapping darkness, this mist that seems to be closing in on you.
Alright, she's going to crawl over to Xavier. Then she's just gonna cast Cure Wounds on him.
Righty. As she casts Cure Wounds, roll that, and Xavier can take the health. So you can go up to 8 hit points there, Xavier.
I'm gonna stand up and thank Kavi here. I'll walk over to Sarkis and use my lay on hands on him to get him up. And I'll use just one of the 5 hit points on him to get him up to awake. And same thing with Flea.
Within a few moments, Flea, Sarkis, and Kavi as well, you are all at a single hit point. You all are in this same pressing mist. It is far colder than it had seemed to be the night before. You are otherwise in darkness right now. You pretty much cannot see more than a few feet away from you.
Kavi, do you have anything else to heal yourself?
I I do, but it'll leave me with nothing left till tomorrow.
You may want to do that, and I can use the rest of my capabilities to try to distribute healing between these two as much as I can.
Alright. So with that, I'll cast Cure Wounds on myself.
And I'll distribute. I have 2 points left for lay on hands, so I'll give 1 to Flea, 1 to Sarkis, and then I also have healing hands from being an Asimar, and that's 1 hit point, which I will give to Sarkis.
When you attempt to heal Sarkis after he's conscious, he would wave you away.
Okay, then I'll give all 3 hit points that I just said to Flea.
And then he would slowly just sort of rise up to his butt and reach for his gear and pull out a torch, and then just sort of light it and sit Indian style for a moment.
As you light the torch, this mist almost seems to get pushed back, and your vision is cleared for a few moments before you actually start to gain a sensation that it's like pushing back in on the light. And it seems to push back in from your left. Seems to be pushing back in from in front of you. And as you look in behind you, it seems to almost be opening up by about 30 feet or so.
So that would be like towards the campfire, or what was the campfire?
Yeah, the map at this point is not where you all are. None of that stuff is there anymore.
Okay, I
Okay.
got you.
Well, considering that you probably would have shared this information with us, Xavier would recommend we just try to make haste and get the hell out of these woods and go wherever the mist is clearing so we can actually see in front of us.
Oh yeah, everybody would be in that same sensation. Like, you cannot see until he lights that torch, and all of a sudden you see as your vision like pushes out, and then you would actively start to notice that the mist is like moving back in, and it seems to be opening up almost a tunnel that was behind Sarkis.
Are you all good enough to walk?
My own torch just to provide extra light, see if it clears the fog even more.
The torch doesn't actually seem to be clearing the fog. It's just a little bit more vision that you're able to cut through some of the fog. And roll an insight check. Yep, no extra information on that. You light your extra torch and you're just... seems to give you the same clear vision to behind where Sarkis was. And just seems like the fog is pushing in from the other direction.
Question: are any of our belongings that were in like the camp that weren't on us with us, or are those gone too?
Roll a perception check as you kind of look around in this little spot where you're waking up.
I'm so bad at those.
Kind of look around. You don't seem to see anything at present.
Xavier will ask the party. My eyes are struggling. Do any of you see my armor? I need to know if we can just go now or if I need to gather this before.
Wait, I thought you put that on before the...
No, I didn't have time. It takes 10 minutes to don armor. So I did not have time to do that. He tried, but it takes a good second.
He's the one person that it matters if there's an encounter when he's on watch. Everybody else can
Yeah.
sleep in their armor. Or at least from the four of you.
Yeah, light armor only takes a minute, and the monk's unarmored.
Yeah, but light armor doesn't even cost you to sleep in. You can actually gain rest wearing light armor.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah. If everyone else seems to be kind of lost in the mist and doesn't think to look for your armor, Xavier, you can take another moment to look, do a perception at disadvantage.
I'll assist because she just wants to, like, she's double checking herself if she has her book as well. So she might as well help in the search.
Yeah, you didn't respond quick enough. No offense or anything, but he seems to be speaking to you all, and there's something peculiar about this mist that everybody seems to just kind of be lost in their own world.
At this point, can Flea try to get his bearings as far as, where his gear is and such?
You can roll a perception check as well. Xavier, did you hear me call for a perception from you disadvantaged?
No, I did not hear that. Sorry.
God, I'm lucky if I can find my feet.
So, Xavier, roll a Constitution save for me. You start to push out of this area where you seem to be, or seem to have woken up, and you're trying to make your way into this. The mist, it feels thick and viscous. It's taking actual effort to push your body into this, and you're trying to push. And after a few moments, you let up and you start to move back, and you feel behind you. It takes no effort to move in the direction, and you gain a clear understanding that the mist is pushing you. If you try to push in the direction where you feel your things are, it seems to be resisting you. And you feel like you had to expend a lot of energy, but you feel fine for now. But you still don't manage to see any signs of your things. Lee, as you try to gain your bearings, nothing about this place seems familiar. Your inner ear is almost going loopy on you, and you feel a sense of like dizziness and vertigo that you've not felt since you were a child. There's no reason for your senses to be so torn up right now. It's difficult to make one way from another, to try to feel way. Did we come in here? I don't. You just can't gain your bearings. You've never felt this disorientated in all of your adult life.
Now, can I see my compatriots?
At present, that's about all that you all can see. Is the four of you are located in about the same spot. Xavier is the one who pushed furthest away from that grouping. And he would have to return at that point.
Okay. Flea is going to make it a point to stay with the group and not get separated to the best of his abilities at this point. And
What if-
recommends the rest to the group.
What were you saying, Kavi?
Just to get like a sense of direction, would it be like a survival check or a nature check?
You could do a survival check. You have a very similar sensation to what I've described for Flea there. He actually has keen mind, so that's part of why it seems so odd for him to feel so lost. And as you try to gain your bearings, you have a sense of like the direction that you woke up in, and that first direction that you saw. I think you went for Xavier first, but like that's it. Like your memory is almost limited right now to this moment that you woke up in this place where you are, and your bearings are very much in relation to that first moment of consciousness when you woke up and felt the cold of this mist. As you all kind of fumble about yourselves, looking for your things, trying to push out in the different directions where you feel like your things might be, you see the mist seem to clear in the direction. I'm still using behind Sarkis because nobody knows cardinal directions at this point. So you feel, or you see the mist kind of clear in that direction. And after a moment, you see a humanoid figure, very tall, very much clouded in a silhouette. As they seem to approach, the mist is cleared in front of them, and your torchlight seems to almost pass to this person, and the darkness seems to stick to them for a moment, a little bit longer than it does clearing behind them. You see more light behind this person than what seems to be clinging to them. And then after a moment, you hear, "Welcome to Barovia." And this person waves their right hand, and they seem to bow to you a little bit. And you hear, "It is a pleasure for you to join me. My name is Count Strahd. It's wonderful to have you." And he looks at you all.
So Sarkis would still be sitting Indian style, and all of a sudden, anybody that would see him or whatever would notice his eyes open up, and they're completely white, and he would reach to his neck and kind of push his hair to the side, and you would see like a tattoo on his neck start glowing blue, and then you would hear him respond with, "What is the price of life? Ironic that the shepherd would fall to wolves." And then sort of a labored laugh. More likely fate. And then he would touch the tattoo, and his eyes would glow slightly, and he'll cast Cure Wounds on himself.
I see. You have met one of my more rambunctious friends. Are you okay? And he'll approach you quite quickly. He actually moves quite deftly, and he'll bend over at almost a right angle to the ground, reaching out a hand to help you up.
Sarkis would take his hand, and as he stands up, he will say, "The wolves were kind enough to spare us."
Ah, well. At least they listen on some instructions. And you'll feel he has a very soft touch As he holds your hand, he kind of helps you up with like 3 fingers, his thumb and like 2 pointer like his like what is that, middle and pointer finger. But like a very soft grip. But like the strength is there, that as much weight as you put onto his hand, it doesn't give in the least bit as he assists you to the ground. But you will notice his touch seems cold, but the air is cold. It seems to be a cold night. And
It's a
then
pleasure to meet you, Count Strahd.
I
I am
assure you, the pleasure
Sorry.
is all mine.
I am Sarkis, and these are my companions. If you would do us a favor, and where exactly are we?
Sarkis, it's very kind of you to remember your introductions. Not everybody understands their manners. And he'll look across to the other 3.
Would the name or whatever Barovia, would that like ring a bell to me? Would I have heard of that before?
There is absolutely no reason for it to ring a bell in the least bit.
Okay, perfect.
Kind of following on that thread. Where did you say we are, Strahd?
Introductions, my friend. What is your name?
Xavier.
Xavier, it is a pleasure to meet you. I am Count Strahd. This is my land. You have come to my family's territory. It is the land of Barovia, dedicated to my father, the late Count Barov.
Well, all I can say is thank you for saving us.
Excellent. You do have some of your manners. It is wonderful to see that not everything was lost in the mist.
Count Strahd, thank you so very much for helping us. I hope it is not an imposition.
You are welcome, but your manners, what is your name?
I'm sorry, good Count. My name is Flea.
Excellent, Flea. I hope you do not flee too far. The mist has a way of getting you.
Oh, I will not flee too far.
That there will be no imposition at all. It is... And he kind of pauses for a moment, and his sight seems to linger a little bit longer as his eyes reach to Kavi, and he looks across you. He seems to look up and down, and then his eyes longest pause as he looks at your tail. And you, most alluring of creatures, you are most intriguing. What is your name?
She doesn't give it. Instead, she just like, with that staying close to the backlight of possible, she like backs away from him. She doesn't trust him.
Roll a wisdom saving throw for me, please. No, you must understand. You are most welcome in this place. You are, in fact, looking at Strahd as an old friend at this point. He has something about him that just reminds you of one of your most trusted friends. And that creepy feeling, his creepy eyes, it all seems to melt away with this conception that this is a friend. This is somebody who's trustworthy. I should help protect them if danger were to come. I would give my life if danger were to try to hurt this person.
Would Flea notice any perceptible changes through this whole interaction?
Depends what you're getting at. Like perceptible changes in Kavi, I would say let's wait a minute to see how Key reacts to my instructions that now Strahd should feel like a friend, because that's still up to her to write. I'm not going to tell her, like, that again, like, mechanically, Strahd just used a spell on Key, and she is in, like, Kavi is indeed charmed, but to see how Key wants to play that out is up to her. So she, like, it's essentially up to you how you play it, and if that's what you're looking for with Flea, we have to just wait a moment to see how she interprets that instruction. Please, please, your name. I am most curious.
So, with being charmed, she is slowly lowering her guard, but she's trying to figure out how he feels like a friend, considering she never had any. But she does give her name out.
And what kind of creature are you, my dear? You are a most beautiful color. And your tail, is that your magic that you weave? Or is that just who you are? Kind of waits for a few moments, and assuming Kavi's still hesitant, he kind of takes a moment to look across everybody else. He's got just a wicked smile on his face. He's like, yes, yes, hard to get. We will speak more in the future. I am very excited to have you in Barovia. But if you all are ready, we can move forward. You have already passed my gates. I fear you likely did not get to see the wonderful view as you headed in through the mists, but now that I am with you, they will not bother you any longer. And I have but a few more minutes before I will have to be on my way. Are we ready? And he starts to kind of walk off ahead of you.
So we obviously have just sort of like kind of popped up in this place. At this point in time, like now that I'm back on my feet, would I notice that, like, do I still have my staff? Is it present, my walking stick?
So, depending on what got lost, you all probably have very limited items. I will leave it up to you what you would have been fighting with when you got woken up by Kavi in that fight. But at present, you all are missing a lot of your gear, I would say. And excellent, Flea. It is wonderful to see you roll on the tabletop.
I want to just like randomize whether or not I still have my staff, regardless of anything else. So I'm gonna do evens. I still have it. Odds, it's gone. All right, so no staff.
Do you walk with a limp? Do you need a hand, old man?
Oh, it's not completely necessary, but I do appreciate your. And he'll sort of look up at Strahd and say, "Warm welcome."
Yes, yes, it's good to welcome everybody when they arrive. Not everyone has the best greetings.
What time of day is it?
Would you, like, are you asking?
Well, can I tell?
Is that what you were going for with the investigation, or was that just a check to see if the plugin was working?
Oh, I was checking the plug-in.
All right, do a perception check for me. So again, you're kind of at a weird spot as far as the keen mind goes. Like, you're still confused as that. As you look about, it seems to be night. It's hard to tell what time it is, but if it's still in the middle of the night, the moon has already set. There's no moon.
So basically, I have no idea if it's just about sunrise or anything like that.
Not just from looking around, nope. Are you all injured beyond your ability to walk? Should I call for Rahadin? Do you require a wagon? And moments after he says the word Rahadin, you see as a carriage kind of pulls up just beyond him in the mist, and it stops. Ah, yes, he is here. He will assist you all. I fear your delays are taking my precious time. I wanted to greet you all in person, and I will have to bid my goodbye. And he bows towards Kavi, but doesn't look towards anybody else. And then he seems to walk beyond the wagon, and within a moment, the mists kind of fill back in, and he's out of sight.
Is the wagon still here and everything?
Yep, there's a large black wagon with a single jet black horse, and then there is a tall humanoid figure who's sitting on the front of the wagon at the driver's seat, and he steps down, long black hair, dressed all in black leathers, and he bows a little bit low to you all, and he says, "Welcome, welcome. I can take you to the village."
This would be much appreciated.
Good. Please, step up. Well, be safe.
Would you say his name again for my notes?
Rahadin.
Pleasure to meet you, Rahadin. I am Sarkis, and we would gladly take a ride to the village.
A pleasure to meet you as well, Sarkis. You will be most welcome in this land.
We have felt welcome.
Rahadi, thank you for the ride and your generosity.
Assuming everybody takes their time to hop into the wagon, it's a good step up. He waits a few moments and helps Kavi up into the wagon with a single hand, just placed out if she needs it. Otherwise, he waits for you all to load up into the wagon. And then assuming everybody's gotten in, he kind of gives you a short little instruction. Please, keep yourselves held in. It is not always the smoothest of rides, though we will find our way soon to our village here. And then I must be on my way. It is soon the progression.
What is the progression?
Ah, it is a wonderful sight. It is most beautiful. Do you enjoy beauties of foreign lands?
Yes, good sir.
then you will enjoy this truly. You should take some time to visit the graveyard of Barovia, and you will be able to spend the nights, and you will get to see all of those adventurers who have come here in past. They walk nightly to visit their Lord Strahd. And he has the biggest smile on his face.
And Rahadin, if we did venture to the graveyard, would we find our names on these stones? Are we dead?
No, 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 no. Death is reserved for a later time. For other things.
With that comment being said, would Xavier be able to use his divine sense on himself to see if he's dead?
You can most certainly proc your divine sense. I believe that is 30 feet.
Yeah, as an action, you can detect good and evil, 60 feet. That is not behind total cover. Yeah, Xavier would do that when he's in the carriage to see if we're dead or not.
I feel like when you proc that, Kavi would be the only thing that kind of piques your interest. And not like strong, but I think you would, depending on how much knowledge you already had about tieflings, you would understand almost like a percentage of her blood that was in fact from her fiendish line. And that can certainly be something that over time Key can decide a little bit more based on how tiefling you want to be. Because it doesn't take much to be a tiefling, but at the same time, you could also have a whole lot of fiendish genetics in you. So that's purely up to you, but at present, Xavier would at least get a little bit more information as to, again, like if you don't know about tieflings already. But nobody else?
Well, we're not dead.
That is certainly a relief, to say the least. And Rahadin, what is the name of the town you take us to?
Barovia.
Ah, Barovia is the town, or Barovia is the land?
Barovia. It is a most beautiful land.
It's all Barovia. Excellent.
Yes, yes, it is Barovia, Barovia.
They aren't too clever with their naming schemes out here.
Is there something that you find wrong with Barovia?
Not at all.
It is in poor taste to insult your lord, and especially to take his father's name in vain. You would
I
be
would never mean
well
to do that.
thought to not do such a thing in the future.
I thank you again for your kindness.
Have you never met a land that was named something before it became something much greater? Barovia started as a small thing that grew with great effort, and in the process became something much greater than anybody ever thought. And it was in this process that Barovia became the center of Barovia. And overlooking the entire land is Ravenloft. And as he points off into the mist clears, and you see a massive cliffside and a castle that sits atop the cliff.
Truly magnificent.
And once again, just an inquiry. Would we have ever heard of, or would I have ever heard of Castle Ravenloft before?
Nope. You guys are in a different land. There's not really going to need any questions about that. This is a different plane of existence.
Okay, cool. I just figured I would ask.
Okay.
Rather curious that such a marvelous castle, such as this Ravenloft, would have eluded us for so long.
Well, for quite some time we have kept ourselves a pleasant secret, so others cannot come and enjoy the bountiful, wonderful things of this land. The Lord Strahd is good, and he will treat you as wonderful guests for the rest of your time in Barovia. Now, we must go. The procession will start soon, and I must be at my lord's side before it begins. If we daddle any longer, I will have to leave you aside the road. And what will happen to you then?
So at this point in time, Sarkis would climb aboard the wagon.
Oh, there's a short wagon ride ahead for you all. It takes about 20 or so minutes before you start to see the first signs of this old, seems somewhat decrepit town before you. Seems nice enough, but it's certainly not as glorious as Rahadin was speaking of. It's dark, it's dreary, still cold, the wind's not biting at you inside of the carriage. But after about this 20 or so minutes, Rahadin stops the carriage. He gets down from the seat. He approaches the door and opens it for you. And as he swings the door open, says, "Excellent, we have arrived."
Thank you
Quick,
much
I must go.
Thank you much for the ride. I see my companions are without words, but and I will reach for my pouch. Would I still have any gold on me, or?
Yeah, anything that you would have had on your person, you would still have.
Okay, I will pull out a gold piece and hand it to Rahadin.
You are most welcome, Lord Sarkis, but it is not necessary. The work that I do is for Count Strahd, and he cares well for me. We have a bit of a monopoly on the economy, as one might say.
Ah, well then the ride is much appreciated. Perhaps I can give it to you for a bit of knowledge before we go. I understand you're in a hurry, but I have one question.
Yes. What can I help you with?
Is there one, or do you know of one named Syfyia Anteos in this land?
In particular, I cannot think of it. Is this somebody who you came with? Did we forget somebody behind?
Uh, One could say that we were following her, but no, she did not come with us. She is young, redhead.
Red, you say? It's most intriguing. How else can you describe her?
She is rebellious, of noble blood. If you would just keep your eyes out for her, and the next time we meet, perhaps you will have a little knowledge of her whereabouts if she is in these lands.
It sounds most fascinating. I think When I have more time, I would like to hear more about this Syfyia.
Syfyia, something like that.
Yes, yes. But still, a redhead. She sounds wonderful.
Yes, good sir. Thank you for the ride, and when we talk again, we can perhaps show you a picture.
Oh, a picture, that would be even better. If you, any time, most certainly, please, yes. But for now, and he looks to the sky, for now I must be going. It is almost midnight. I will see you shortly. And he bows low. With a deft little jump, he hops up onto the back of the wagon, and he seems to ride off into the west. And shortly behind him, the mist seems to swallow. And then around you all, the mist seems to close in behind you to the east. And the village of Barovia is before you, with little else to be seen but some old, very tall, very slender homes. Most all of them have some sort of gated porch, barred windows. A few seem as if they've seen better times. Burnt, scorched, many in disrepair.
Just sort of like looking out over the area that we're in now. Do we see any like activity, people, creatures, or anything in the town? Any light sources?
Roll a perception check. You kind of start to look around. There seems to be almost shadows of movement. You feel like you catch the slightest wisp of somebody moving by. But everything seems quite dark. The mist seems like it's clawing in on you again. And then you kind of catch the last moment, the road sign of the roads that Rahadin has left you at. You are on the crossroad of Barovia Lane and Barovia Street in Barovia.
So I suppose I would reach for my pack at this point in time and see if I have a torch or if I even have my pack with me anymore.
I believe at this point you would be without the pack.
I don't suppose anyone has a torch on their person.
No, I was lucky to grab what I got, my sword and my shield and my amulet.
I only have a tinderbox.
What a rather curious predicament we've ended up in, but perhaps it was meant to be that we're all here together.
Yes, I have many questions, but I think those can wait for a little while.
I suspect that the longer we're here, the more questions we may have.
To be certain.
Well, shall we? And he'll sort of like gesture towards like the town to just start walking.
Lee is following.
Start to just walk into the opening in the mist. And after a short while, walk down the street, Barovia Lane, where Rahadin was kind enough to drop you off, and you see a little girl. Might be 11, a little bit older perhaps. That could definitely be Syfyia. Seems to fit the age. Hard to make out too much about what she looks like or what she's wearing from this distance in this lighting. But it seems to be her. She seems to be standing in front of a large house. About 3 stories. Maybe 4 with the attic. You there? Come. Help me. There's a monster in here. Yes, you. Please, come. Now.
Sarkis would look to his companions and respond, "How convenient. We were just looking for you, darling." And he would start to approach.
You were looking for me? Oh, have you been sent to get rid of Father's monster?
No, but we've been sent to retrieve you.
I cannot go now. But if you help find my brother, get rid of the monster, I'm sure I could come with you then.
We were never told about a brother.
No, we were told about it, brother.
He's
Oh,
just
we
a
were?
little infant. And you see, as you all approach a little bit closer, you see this girl has jet black hair. By all accounts, there's no way this is Syfyia. But as you approach a little bit closer, you see there's a small child standing behind her as well. And it seems to be a little boy, about 6, 7-ish, maybe half her height. He's got one finger inside of his mouth just sucking on his thumb, and his other arm is clenched around a old rag doll just kind of sewn together with a few stitch eyes and like a 3-stitch mouth. And he's just looking like one eye from behind his sister, and he just seems to be kind of like holding on to the back of her dress as he looks over her waist a little bit. Please, my brother Walter's still inside. We can't go in with the monster.
Oh dear, it appears I'm mistaken. Well, you're not Syfyia. You're not Syfyia at all. What is your name, little girl?
Rosvalda, please, save my brother. There's no time.
Zaber will kind of look at the rest of the party. I don't know about you, but I could not leave a child in need. This may not be Syfyia, but I think we should help.
Yes, much agreed. With haste. And I would reach up for like the door handle to enter the house.
So there's a large, like, cast iron gate. The right side of the gate is like where the locking mechanism is, and it's hinged on the left, and it's across this entire like front section of the portico. But you can reach out for it, and as you pull on it, it seems to already be unlocked, and it just has a loud like creak as you start to open it.
At this point, Flea's following, but he's total gray man at this point.
Don't go far, child. We will go get your brother from the monster. And I will proceed forward cautiously.
If you save Walter, we'll be here waiting. Everybody following inside? As you approach through the gate, there's a large wooden door. It's about like 6.5, 7 feet wide. It's a quite beautiful, ornate door. and it's about 8 feet tall. It opens into a smaller little foyer, and you can open that, and it seems to open smoothly. A little bit of a creak to it, but overall it seems welcoming. There's a little bit more dust than perhaps a well-kept, beautiful house should be, but you can approach into the foyer. If anybody looks behind them, the two children would just be kind of standing right on the opposite side of the gate, just staring at you.
At this point, Flea has his dagger in his hand.
Sarkis would continue just walking forward, sort of observing the room. Does it appear like anyone has been through here recently? Is it particularly dusty or dingy?
So right now I have you all in like the foyer proper. Does that sound good where you'd want to be? And if so, then yeah, you can do an investigation check.
Yeah.
So there doesn't appear to be any footprints in the dust. But as you look around the room, perhaps the first thing to catch your eye is that's my walking staff. That's my book bag. These are my things. And when you approach them, you're kicking up dust. And the dust is kind of spreading and laying back down on top of them. But they're set well inside of this foyer.
Oh, go ahead.
Flea glancing around. I'm at some point, all of the random rolls, you guys have to like actually tell me what you're doing. I'd like to have as much description as possible so I can riff with you. But in this instant, I would basically limit it to 2 people doing something of that nature. But Flea, you kind of get a very similar like feeling where you look around and you notice the rest of your things are in this place and that they're well behind the actual like door and area. Still with the 21, you're going to notice that the dust has not been disturbed in getting your things in this location. And that's definitely the type of thing where you're just like, things that I could steal if I could walk through dust without disturbing it. And as this is kind of like setting on your like subconscious a little bit, you kind of look up and above your things you see a beautiful red shield of a crest with a yellow windmill set on it.
Would we recognize the crest?
There is no reason for anybody to recognize this crest in the least bit. But as everybody looks around, you would notice, I'm assuming the 2 of you would then share these thoughts as you notice your things. Everybody, you do in fact have all of your gear. It seems to be waiting inside of this manor for you, as if it was placed here by somebody's most caring of touches. It's folded perfectly, seems entirely unharmed, and besides the dust that Sarkis spread on it while he was approaching, the dust doesn't seem to have touched it.
I do not like this, but I'm at least glad to have my armor.
As you,
Have
what were you thinking, Flea?
have we moved into this room, or are we still kind of at the outskirts of the room?
That was kind of my starting question, but essentially I've got you all inside of this room. Like, your things would be kind of like along different points in the walls. So what are you thinking, like, regarding?
Oh no, I was just wondering if we were in the room yet.
Gotcha. Xavier, as you begin to pick up your armor, I'm going to assume you start to don your armor, but regardless, as you pick up your armor, kind of excited to see that you do have it, a small doll, about 6 or 8 inches, a little bit longer than like your hand and maybe like a bit of your forearm, kind of falls out from inside of the armor.
Wait. What is this doing here? Xavier will pick it up. Oh, that's so creepy.
Does this look like the doll that we saw earlier?
That the little boy was holding?
Yes, sir.
No, the little boy's doll was almost like a imagine like the shape of a gingerbread man, where it's just like a circular head and then kind of like the Vesuvian man, like reaching out like arms and legs, and it was all just like white, sewn as if it were cut into 2 parts, and then there's like 3 dots sewn for each eye, and then like 3 like dots sewn for the smile. And it was dirty, it was old and ragged. But this is almost like a porcelain doll. It seems a little bit nicer. It seems to have like just brilliant red hair. And if everybody took a moment to read the actual little sign on it, as you kind of like look over this doll, it has a little tag on it that says, "He's no fun, he's no Blinsky."
I do not like this place one bit.
Fate indeed. It appears we're right where we are supposed to be. And Sarkis would pick up his pack and put it on his shoulder and his staff as well.
As Sarkis picks up his pack, there seems to be a little bit of a from the other side of the front door, like inside to, I gotta go to cardinal directions because I hate not having them, but to the east of you, if north is up, to the east of you, you hear from inside of the main door a clunk as something seems to like hit the ground. Maybe it hit the door. It's hard to tell, but it was right in the moment where Sarkis kind of threw his backpack on his back.
Do I see any sort of like levers or anything that would perhaps be like a trigger to this event taking place from where I picked up my pack?
More or less, no, there's not really anything to see. You're still like in kind of like a mudroom foyer. Like, this is still like clearly an entrance area to the home. You've walked through the front gate, you've walked through a front door, and now you're at the main entrance. There is an even more brilliant, like wonderful door ahead of you, but it is a very sturdy wood. There is no view inside, though. It's not like a glass entry. Excuse me. It's not like a glass entryway. It just seems like maybe something was inside. Your first thought was definitely maybe I dropped something, but you kind of look around and you've got everything in hand still. It doesn't seem to have been something in this room.
So did it feel like it came from behind us where we already were, or further into the room, like the castle?
Oh, that's why I was saying to the east. It is further in. I believe it is to the right of where Xavier is. I don't know if I can actually ping in the shadow.
Yeah, we could see it. Okay, so I guess I would approach and sort of look to my companions. You appear to be shaken.
Very, very concerned.
So once Kavi grabs her back, she actually like checks her journal just to check the age of the paper, see if like anything weird happened with like the time.
Roll an investigation check for me. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the paper, but you have a weird way of how you write this letter or how you fold over a corner on this page. Little things that are almost like, I'm just gonna riff on this, that like Kavi seems to be a very introverted, very like in on herself, kind of like subtly paranoid of other people. So I'm gonna go ahead and say there's those little things that you almost like hide inside of your journal, and you kind of get like a really weird sensation that somebody's been reading your journal. Like if you've got a bookmark or like where you placed your pen, little things like that that like would be off. Like corners that you would like fold in not being folded anymore.
Little signatures.
Exactly, yep. But otherwise,
Yeah.
like all of your things are there. It's still the same journal. The paper doesn't seem damaged.
But, like no discoloration or anything.
Nope. You almost might be surprised, like with a nice handmade paper, even with how strong the mist was, like that bit of water damage could have changed the parchment, but it otherwise seems perfectly fine. You've got like an eerie feeling that little things that you do have almost been like undone, as if somebody like just ran through it real quick.
Yeah, this she just mumbles under her breath that has been tampered with, and she's just like fidgety about it.
Lee, Xavier, any thoughts as Sarkis approaches the door?
Xavier's just going to tell them to hold off for just a second so he can get fully suited up in his armors. About 10 minutes. A little bit of a...
Everybody is okay waiting. Xavier finishes placing his armor on and is all suited up.
Lee's going to take that time just to, look through his pack and see if everything's there, etc. Not a really fine look.
Yeah, everything seems to be there.
Well, let's not waste any more time. I can take the lead. Everyone's ready to go. If we're all done like investigating with that, Xavier will attempt to open the door.
Just to clarify, you all still have no light?
Xavier will cast the light cantrip.
Gotcha. So, what are you casting light on?
Probably my sword.
Excellent. So, as you open the door, it's got an old-fashioned little handle with just a little bit of like a turn, and it clicks over, and it almost effortlessly starts to open, opening into this room. You see beautiful marble flooring, and as you look straight ahead, there's a wonderful large fireplace coming out into the marble a little bit. there's no firewood anywhere around it. White marble flooring, and it all kind of leads towards this room. Seems to be about the same width as the house, and a beautiful blood red marble staircase that seems to rotate in a circle as it climbs towards the second floor. There are, assuming everybody steps into it, there are doors in front of you. There is a door to the west, which would almost be behind you as you all approach in, towards like the front of the house, as well as a short hallway that then leads into a doorway to the east.
So where do we think we start looking? I do not trust this house, so I do not think we should split up for one moment.
As the others begin to like walk into the room, Sarkis would take his walking stick and sort of like put it behind the crest that's on the wall and see like, does it free? Does it kind of like move away? Can he kind of pry it off?
Like you're still out in the foyer while you're doing this, basically? Like that crest?
Yeah, as they begin to walk into the room, he would sort of like just investigate it a little bit, kind of poke it around. I'm assuming it's up high enough to where I can't reach it, so I would kind of be like poking it with my stick.
Oh yeah, right. How tall is Sarkis?
About 3 feet.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's enough that you can get to it with your staff. It seems to be hung from a higher point, so you can kind of pull out, like it's essentially a kite shield. So you can kind of pull out the base of it a little bit, and it seems to like almost lever off of like the top part of the shield, and you can see a little bit into it. But probably the biggest thing that you would gather from that little bit of a movement is that it feels a little bit lighter than an actual military shield should be. It's definitely meant as like beautification rather than as this is a combat shield.
Okay, and there doesn't appear to be any like anything written behind it or anything like eerie about it, weird or anything I noticed.
No, there's not really anything else to see from it.
Okay, he would just kind of like scurry in behind everyone else.
So I feel like this map is actually kind of missing one little detail. I think this should be a door. That is a door. That is a door. And then I think it's missing this door. I don't think it's just where I have it revealed. I don't think I noticed that this map seems to be missing two of those doors. So maybe once I reveal more, I'll be wrong, but I feel like I used this map without noticing that.
Anyone have any inclination on which door we should explore first?
As well, actually, this appears to be a door. But that one actually looks like a door.
Your guess is as good as mine, or perhaps we should let fate decide. And Sarkis will pull out a small knife and put it on the floor and just sort of spin it around in a circle and see which direction it points in.
Roll a d6.
Pick a door, any door.
So it's going to point to the most eastern of doors there.
Well, looks like Lady Fate is chosen for us. And Xavier will open the door. Awesome.
So as you pop open the door, it seems to be a bit of a dining room. It's set with a beautiful, large mahogany table. There's 8 high-back red leather chairs. Everything seems really nice. A little bit of dust on them. It's set with food. The food looks good. It doesn't seem that any of the dust has settled onto the food itself.
Zavi. Or Kavi, sorry. Kavi, you have a keen eye, don't you?
I don't think so.
Sorry that I mistook you for type. I do wonder, though, why does this room have no dust, at least on the food, when the rest of the house looks so warm?
Yeah, definitely like the food. Most everything else in this room is still dusty.
Do you think we have visitors, or they are still here, or something else?
Can I do an Arcana check to see if like there's like anything like odd about the specific?
Lee, you were standing in front of another door that I feel like is missing. I'm really curious to just like flat out reveal the map and see, but I feel like that door was kind of subtly hidden there as well. But yes, you can definitely roll an Arcana check. What were you looking to see from it again, Kavi?
Just to see like why the food is so weird in the room.
Yeah, go for it. So, with an Arcana check, I would say you have a pretty good understanding that maybe the food doesn't belong in this room, and that it actually has a magical presence, and that the food was summoned. You and your DM remembering that you are currently charmed by Strahd. Perhaps Strahd had them set it out for you, waiting for you. Because he's such a kind host.
Speaking of that charm, like how long does it last?
Oh yeah, that's 24 hours.
Who knew?
Is there a fire currently going in the fireplace?
No, it's another fireplace. There's no firewood, like, apparent in the location.
Sarkis would kind of like get down around the fireplace, like, and start just kind of poking around and looking for any like thing that seems out of place. Is it all dusty in there? Does it seem like there was a fire recently?
You can do an investigation there. Seems to be an old fireplace. Xavier, Flea, what are you doing as those two are investigating the food and the fireplace?
I'm looking to see if there's something on top of the fireplace mantle. I also noticed there was a sword on top of the other mantle in the other room.
There was indeed. There was a long sword on top of the mantle in the main room. Inside of this room, I do not believe there is anything of note on top of this mantle, or on top of this fireplace. This is much more like utilitarian of a location than that main room was. Very much a clear understanding of like nobles sharing their grandeur as they have guests first approaching.
Am I going backwards too much? But would we have noticed anything unique about the long sword in the other room?
You could certainly go and look. present, though, you would also very quickly recognize that Xavier is currently the only light source in this otherwise dark house.
Oh, yeah. Xavier, I would like to go look at the longsword in the outer room. Would you be willing to come with me and look at it?
Sorry, I was talking to my grandma right there. What'd you say again?
Xavier, I would like to take a look at the broadsword that was on the other mantle. Um, would you be willing to light the way?
Of course.
I also want to ask the rest of the group, since that's the only light source.
No need to fret. There's plenty of light where that came from. And I'll pull out a torch and light a torch.
As you pull out your torch and go to light it, you spark a little bit of a fire, and you get like the first bit of it to catch in the torch, and the long red silk, I can't think of what the cloth things that you put in front of doors or windows are called. Curtains. These long red curtains just kind of billow as if a wind just like blew through the room. The fire's untouched by it. You don't feel any wind.
So I
Okay.
see the wind, but I don't feel it.
Yeah, like the curtains blow in the wind, but your fire doesn't blow in the wind, and you don't feel any wind on your flesh.
Okay, and where did that come from? Is that to the east of us, like against that wall in front of me?
Yeah, like there's 2 windows on this eastern wall.
Okay, and then is there also doors, or are the windows the door, or the doors the windows?
So from this room, the door is on that southeast. There's a door. And then there's a door that, meta knowledge wise, you guys definitely know just leads back out into the entranceway. But more or less, I think it would be pretty solid that anybody, yeah, nobody's got a dump stat. I think anybody with intelligence 10 or higher would have a pretty good idea that that door leads right back out into the entranceway.
Okay, so Sarkis will just say, I'm right behind you. And he will actually go the opposite direction, though, and just walk up to the windows. And depending how high off the ground they are, I'll kind of like hold my torch up and try to like peek out the window.
Like you're gonna move the curtain to the side and then like hold the torch up to peek out of the window?
Yeah, that's the window like right in front of me right now.
Yeah, these are, what, you said you're 3 feet tall. These are probably, this room might be like 4 times your height. So you can reach almost halfway to the ceiling with your walking stick. And the actual curtains are like ceiling to floor. And as you move it to the side to peek out of the window is probably like 3 times your height. It's maybe set off the floor by about a foot, but like that's just kind of like your perspective looking up. These windows feel like, 9 foot of a 12-foot high room.
Are there candles on the dinner table?
Yeah, the dinner table is set with wine glasses. It currently has like essentially like what anybody of class would notice is like a salad plate, and then it has like 3 forks, a knife, and a spoon. There's, I think, 4 candles, and then a larger, like, candelabra in the center.
I take it the candles have dust on them, correct?
Yep.
I'm going to take one of the candles and light it from the torch.
Takes the fire and it glows a little bit. Kavi, is there anything in particular you're investigating at present? And Xavier, are you leaving without Flea at that point?
No, I'm waiting for them to go check the broadsword.
Everyone planning on sticking together here? If so, Flea, you can do your investigation.
Yeah, I think that's the smartest thing, is for us to all stick together.
Coming, I'm right behind you. And as Sarkis kind of walks by the table, he will grab a wine glass and, assuming it's full of wine, carefully bring it with him.
It is indeed a proper pour. It's about a third of the glass. It's a beautiful, dark cherry red, very, very much like a well-cast, like a Merlot or a Cabernet Sauvignon. It's got a little bit of legs as you kind of swish it around. It seems to be a pretty fine wine with a good age to it. So, picking up the sword and pulling it off the mantle. It's certainly a little bit longer than you would use. It's a little bit heavy for you. It seems to be a combat-ready longsword, although it probably hasn't actually seen any combat. Looking it over, it doesn't seem to have any nicks or anything on it. But there is a beautiful crest on it of a red back with a yellow windmill.
So short of that, not seeing anything else unique about it. I'll just put it back on the mantle.
Alrighty. Yep, reaching up onto the mantle, setting it back in its place. Seems like it's probably just a decorative sword. Last moment, your eyes kind of catch, like, a pretty beautiful, like, wooden motif that seems to, like, go around the edge about the height of the sword. And you'd notice that it seems to go around the entirety of this room.
So it essentially matches at the markings on the sword, then I take it.
The sword matches the crest that was on that front foyer. The actual walls are like a carved scene almost.
I'm going to ask the group if they see anything they want to unique about this, and if not, I'm just going to move on.
Sarkis will just kind of like walk down towards like the southern part of the room and kind of take a look at this door right here. And along the way, he's kind of like sloshing the wine around, kind of smelling it, deciding whether or not it's a good idea to drink it.
That seems like a rather plain door. It's certainly functional. You can see signs of wear, where somebody probably like pushed open on it. But overall, it's definitely not as fancy as any of the other doors that you've seen in this place. The wine in particular, it's got a beautiful nose to it. It smells of cherries. It seems delightful to waft into your presence.
we'll never know if we don't try. And he'll put the glass up to his lips and feel the like tingle of the wine in his mustache as he begins to drink it.
Make a Constitution saving throw. It tastes absolutely bland. There's no flavor. Even the nose seems to be gone the moment it touches your lips. And it's almost like a stale water just left out for too long. It's not even vinegar. It's something completely different.
Would I have any inclination as to why?
It depends if Kavi would have described her feeling that the food was summoned. Do you think you described that, Kavi?
Yeah, she would have, considering like she wasn't sure if there was even a kitchen in the place.
Yeah, so between that and perhaps like her hesitancy as she was thinking about like where the kitchen might have been, her reaction to you definitely would be to where she would share it. But from that like kind of bit of time shared between you all, you would have a pretty solid understanding that it seems like the food was summoned in greeting for you all to come in, and that perhaps it's not really food.
Understood. So then I guess Sarkis would move right to where like Kavi is and sort of put the glass up against the door. Like assuming that door is closed now that we went through before, lean the glass like up against the door so that if anyone opened the door, the glass would fall and we would hear it.
Gotcha.
Shall we proceed then? And he'll look up towards like the door that's right in front of him that we haven't gone through.
We shall.
So someone open that door that is just south of you all then?
Xavier will. Yeah.
You see a small room. There's a few counters around. There's no more doors inside of it. There's no more windows in this area. There's a few different workstations. And then as well... Oh man, I might describe this incorrectly. I feel like this is... Oh, okay. So in the southwest of this room, you see a small like slide door that seems to slide up vertically. It's about like 2x3, like very small, or maybe let's say 1x3. Like it's 1 foot wide, 3 feet tall, and there seems to be like a small handle as if it slides up, and then there's a little button to the side of that. And then there's like a wash basin to the east. And I think that's a pretty full description of that room. This is the kitchen, Kavi.
It's a poor kitchen.
Anybody thinking of investigating anything at all, or is that pretty much all you cared to see in the kitchen?
Shall I actually like? I can't remember the name of it, but it's like that little like. I'm assuming it's like a chute that goes throughout the house.
Like a laundry chute?
Like investigating that little door in the southwest?
Yes.
Yeah, if you open it up, you can slide that little latch, or not latch, but you can slide the little handle up. It's very clearly a light, small wooden door that slides up. You do in fact see that there is essentially a dumbwaiter in that portion, and it seems to go from here up. Let's see where it is at present. It seems to be on this level, so you actually see the two different ropes that are basically hanging into this thing. And you don't know which would do which right now, but it would appear if you pull one of them, you would start to raise it up higher into the house.
Does it go lower also, i.e. a basement or lower floors?
You could certainly try, but at present, it's basically filling the bottom from what you can see, and there doesn't appear to be anything below.
You said there was a button next to it?
There is indeed.
Yes, it's a button.
You press the button.
Press the button.
When you press the button, you hear a little ding of a bell, and then you hear something smack into the ground up on the second floor. And then there's 1, 2, 3 footsteps, and then silence.
Turn it back away.
We need to proceed. We need to head upstairs and find Walter. He may need us. Time is of the essence. We've wasted too much already.
Does everyone agree? Up the stairways, going to see Walter?
The one thing Xavier want to check before he does is this one right here, considering it looks like it's a closet.
Opening that door, it is indeed a closet, and there are several black cloaks inside.
Well, there's nothing of note in there, just some cloaks. Let's head upstairs.
So give me a second here. I am going. Alrighty, so as you all head up the red marble staircase, you approach another room that is likely the width of this entire house. There are 4 armors standing in this main room, looking in on each other, and there is a fireplace along the northern wall, as well as 2 different little candle sconces hanging from the sides of the fireplace, basically flanking it.
How much dust?
From this hall, you have a pretty solid view of, there's certainly extended dust. This level seems to have cobwebs as well. It seems less active than even the floor below, which seems neglected enough as is.
She investigates one of the suits of armor, seeing if it's been moved. Considering normally they're facing each other and they're away. At least it looks like they're facing away from each other.
They should be facing, like, the center of this room, basically. Like, they're all facing each other. And you said you were investigating them for what's that?
Just if they're moved, because what she's used to is having them like face each other.
So yeah, looking over the actual suit of armor, everything looks pretty kosher. Like, it all seems pretty regular. They've got beautiful, ornate, woven faces to them. Like, the actual visors are like the maw of a wolf. And the person would be looking through the actual eyes of the wolf. They're all clutching long spears, but they seem as if they've been here for ages.
They're creepy, especially relays.
Does it look like the spear could be removed?
Roll a investigation check. Giving it like a little bit of a tug. It seems like maybe they've corroded into place if they weren't welded into place ages ago, but it doesn't seem like you could remove the spear.
Okay, are there any doors in this room short of the steps?
Let's see. There's the one door that I barely removed on the west, and then there's the one door that's east of Sarkis. And then, oh man, the actual like way of how this is twisting. I feel like there is a door in the southeast. So I'm pretty sure the way this one is drawn up, that you would have basically come up the stairs like this, and on that landing, you can either walk north, or you can continue and you see that there's like an open doorway there. So I'll actually remove that little spot, because just walking up, the light would have kind of cast into there. And you would see what appears to be 2 beds inside of this open room.
Is there anything on the fireplace mantle?
Looking over the mantle, you see a family of 4. A father, what appears to be his wife, and his 2 young children, who seem remarkably like the 2 that you met outside. Maybe a bit younger than they appear to be, but it seems to be painted at about the same age that they currently are.
How old does this painting look?
Roll an investigation. This painting is probably... it's well beyond what it should be. If you were to steal this to sell to an art collector, you would expect this piece were 300 to 400 years old. Seeing those children outside couldn't be painted more than a few months ago.
Sarkis would sort of chime in, kind of talking to himself, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Only 2 children. So, who is Walter?
Good question.
Or what?
I do not like this at all. I can't make sense of this.
And Sarkis would sort of raise his voice. Walter, we're here to help. And he'll begin to open the door right in front of him.
There doesn't seem to be any reply, but you open the door, and you see a large room, a single mahogany desk set in the center. There's some notes on it, but predominantly this whole area is like all bookcases to the south of you. There's probably a good 4, 5, maybe 600 books. All of them seem to be bound in beautiful leather. Many of them are small and tiny little pieces. Some of them are massive, almost the size of Sarkis.
I'm going to search the desk.
Roll an investigation. The desk seems very interestingly like unused. There's not too much sitting on it. There's like different items, but there's no books. There's an oil lamp. There seems to be some ink, a quill pen, blank sheets of paper, sealing wax. But like it doesn't have a lot of signs of having been touched recently. Doesn't have signs of like being terribly used.
Anything in the drawers?
You find a seal for the Durst family. It's the same windmill, but the drawers seem pretty empty. Oh, I am skipping. There's an iron key because the drawers aren't empty. Ah!
Yeah, I want to kind of show the signet ring to the rest of the group, and I'm going to use the keys and inspect the drawers and have at it.
Sarkis still in the main room will sort of probably loud enough for anyone to hear. Once again, be sort of talking to himself and say, "Not the best idea, but I suppose it will be effective." And he's going to attempt to like wedge his staff between the suit of armor and the wall, and try to get like enough momentum to like knock it over.
Do a strength check. You like feel for a moment like you almost got it to totter over, but it seems, at least from the initial idea, that maybe the kids were rambunctious enough that these were prepared in a way that they're not easily knocked.
Tabby's gonna like look along the book, seeing like if she can't find anything like either like the history of the family or of Bulgaria.
Do a what is that, like a wisdom perception check? So looking over things, you find a few different books that seem interesting, and one of the things that jumps out to you the most is, of all these beautiful bound books, there's clearly a wooden book in this spot, and the pages are clearly wood, and you pull on it, and the entire, like, cabinet of the bookcase slides open, just drearily silent with a shh, and you feel just a cold bit of air kind of flow over you, and just like musty old air kind of flows out as it then flows into the room. But you see a few more bookcases in front of you, like to each side, as well as a chest on the southern side of this little room, and there is a skeleton hunched over, and it seems to be reaching into the chest.
I relay all that with the added effect of, like, that's really creepy. But she goes in and investigates it anyway.
So as you get a little bit closer to the skeleton, you see that there are 3 darts. They appear to be almost like an ivory bone type of substance that are stabbed right into the leather armor of this skeleton. And they seem to have basically been... Let me have you roll an investigation. They seem to have killed the skeleton. As you
Who
look
would've
over
thought?
it, you see the skeleton is holding a piece of paper. It's like still like relatively inside of the chest, but the skeleton's like reached into the chest.
I search for traps.
This was the trap. You're pretty clear of that this person like reached in and got killed, going in places they were not meant to.
I take the piece of paper.
My most pathetic servant. I am not your messiah, sent to you by the dark powers of this land. I have not come to lead you on a path to immortality. However many souls you have bled on your hidden altar, however many visitors you have tortured in your dungeon, know that you are not the ones who brought me to this beautiful land. You are but worms writhing in my earth. You say that you are cursed, your fortune spent. You abandoned love for madness, took solace in the bosom of another woman, and sired a stillborn son. Cursed by darkness? Of that I have no doubt. Save you from your wretchedness? I think not. I much prefer you as you are. Your dread lord and master, Strad Van Zorovich. And that's where we're going to leave off for next week.
Oh, nice.